What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
On it by Paul Patella, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson, and he go on the outside, comes inside, comes have a shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Good evening. Welcome to the pre-game show here on Turfcast. I am your host for tonight. I am not Joe Redmond. I am Nathan Rogers. I'm filling in for Joe while he's away. And tonight we're going to be looking ahead to Saturday's fixture against Tottenham. And I'm joined by Craig from the Spurs Chat Podcast. How are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Pleasure to be on. Thank you very much. Let's get into it. No, that's fine. It's always a pleasure to come and talk about Tottenham.
Nice one, yeah. So, as you know, before we start, we did announce the other week that we have got a new sponsor on board, which is Green King Live Sport, which we're very grateful for. So, they are sponsoring the pre-game show, and it's sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. Green King Sport venues are showing every single televised Burnley fixture over the 23-24 season, and with more than 900 sports pubs across the UK. Whether you're based in Burnley or Brighton, you can catch every single minute of the action. Keep an eye out during the season for events, offers and content on Turfcast with competitions that put you closer to the action. So with that out of the way, let's look ahead to Saturday afternoon. How's life being a Spurs fan at the minute? From the outside, it seems like it's going a bit too well at the minute. It's not the up and down roller coaster we've been used to for the past couple of years.
Yeah, do you know what? That's such a good question, because what is life like as a Tottenham fan? And for anybody looking in, you'd look at us and you'd think, like, it's first world problems, isn't it? It's like you think, well, a team that's usually up in the top 5 or 6 in the Premiership, and you know what's not to love. But we've had 4 or 5 pretty bad years, to be honest, since Pochettino was sacked, and we've had pragmatic managers in Mourinho and Conte and Nuno, who didn't really fit the club, didn't fit what the fans wanted. And now Ange has come along, and I didn't know much about him before he became our manager, and he's been like a breath of fresh air. He's breathed life back into the club, probably a bit like Kompany did to you guys after what happened with Dyche at the end there. And it's just been lovely. And the game at Fulham aside from midweek, it's just been fantastic first 3 games. And, you know, having lost Harry Kane, you know, but he's took it all in his stride, and he's just gelled the fans back together. And it's actually fun to be a Tottenham fan and watch the games again, which is fantastic. Yeah,
it does feel like that from an outside perspective looking in. Obviously, we follow like you guys on Twitter, and then I follow a few guys from Spurs as well. And the sort of downtrodden football fan seems to have vanished a little bit from you guys, and it seems like a really good place to be again now, which on paper, like, if you look back the last 5 years, you know, you've had Mourinho, you've had Conte, you've had, like, you know, top level managers, you've got £1 billion stadium. On paper, it's like, you guys should just be happy, like, enjoy it, you know, we're like scrapping at relegation, up and down into the Championship. But no, it must be frustrating because you were so close to breaking that obviously with the Champions League and whatnot, and then you were so close to sort of breaking that mould, I think, and if you'd have won that, I think it would have just bumped you up into that next bracket sort of thing. So it must have been frustrating to sit there and go, we're so close, and we've brought these elite managers in that want to do this thing and do that thing, but it's still not quite worked. So do you feel like Ange can do that, or are you just sort of having a reset and just taking expectations down a notch, do you think, to then rebuild up again?
Yeah, basically in a nutshell, I mean, I don't think any Spurs fans getting carried away here with what's happening. These are such early days. There's so much work to do on and off the pitch. There's players to get out the door. We can talk about transfers later on, but although we made Champions League with Conte, like last season we finished 8th, and that the tail off was huge. Before the World Cup break, we actually went into it 4th. We was 4th during the World Cup break, and we had the chance to go 3rd for that World Cup break, but for a last-minute dodgy penalty against Southampton, we would have been 3rd. And then the tail off after Christmas was just unbelievable. I mean, we were lucky to get 8th, to be honest with you. So this building process that Ange is going to be hopefully a part of for many years to come. It's early days, and just getting back into Europe next season on any level would be improvement, and you just want to see progression with your team. And I would be happy anything 6 upwards, but you got to see that progression, and he's got to be backed by our board and our chairman, which sadly is one of the reasons Harry Kane left. And we knew what we had in Harry Kane, but by God, he's a gaping hole that's you can't fill.
No, you don't just lose 20, 30 goal scorer player, do you, and then just expect life to carry on and all. But that does lead into my sort of next question: life without Harry Kane, has it gone as you expected? Because to be honest, we did our pre-season predictions, and I put Spurs quite high up, finishing in sort of 5th or 6th place. And I actually said I think Harry Kane leaving would actually benefit. I don't mean it in that, but I mean like it would actually benefit the team, not necessarily the wins or whatever. But I think it would benefit the team, and it would allow other players to think, right, the main man's gone. Let's all fight for that main man spot, and let's all work together for that goal. And has Harry Kane leaving, has that gone the way you'd expected, or were you a bit surprised that it's actually worked out? Because I still think it's worked out in your favour that it has left, which sounds ridiculous to say because he's one of the best goal scorers we've seen in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, you had Nathan Tella on loan, didn't you? And obviously he's going to be a big loss for you guys. But times that by about 6 or 7, and you've got how we all felt about Harry Kane. He was our main scorer of goals. He got 30 goals last season. He's a club record goal scorer. You can't replace him, but you're right. We've kind of started well, and sometimes when a player like that leaves, we've all teams survive when big players leave. With Gareth Bale left, as Modric left, Ginola, Gascoigne, you could go on and on. And you're right. Sometimes it takes the other players to step up and step into the shoes. And it might not just mean one player doing it. It could mean 2, 3 or 4. And Son being captain now, that's a new responsibility for him. Maddison coming in at £40 million, was fantastic signing. Udogie, the left back, fantastic signing on the left there. And the football that we're going to play now is going to benefit some of the players that weren't as good last season, like Bissouma. What a fantastic turnaround he's had. He's definitely one to watch. So we're not expecting any one player to replace Harry Kane because he's irreplaceable in our eyes. But life does go on, and you're right. Sometimes you need to go back to go forward. So, and I'm sure he'll be back one day anyway in some capacity.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, he's a Spurs legend, isn't he? And I'm a Burnley fan. I have no real tooth in the game whatsoever, but it felt right that he went to abroad. You know what I mean? It felt like he was. It would have felt wrong seeing him in another shirt scoring goals in the Premier League. It would have just. I don't know. It wouldn't have sat right on me. So I was sort of glad he went to, and he's just gone over there and done exactly what we expected, hasn't he? He's just smashing it at the minute. But anyway, it's,
he is.
enough about Harry Kane. He's Germany's problem now. So, so you mentioned about the performances then. So this season so far, you've had 1 draw, 2 wins. Obviously, I'll say you're unbeaten, even though you got knocked out of the Carabao Cup. You still drew the game, and that's no. I'm not going to throw shade on that because Fulham took it to the sword to Arsenal the other day. They're a pretty strong side. So I'm not taking that result lightly. It's penalties ended it. It's a coin toss. But how have the performances been from Spurs this season so far? What's been the playing style? What's the standout sort of theme from the games that you're getting from Tottenham?
Yeah, chalk and cheese from last year. I don't know how much you watched the Tottenham last year, but it was very pragmatic, very defensive, counter-attacking, boring football, dare I say, where Kompany's got you playing 4-2-3-1, I think you play, don't you? Something similar like that. He likes to play on the front foot. He likes to play attacking, possession-based football, high intensity. And that's exactly what Ange Postecoglou wants to play. And that's how our first 3 games have been. Brentford, the first game, you can see the players were still trying to get used to the system because this is brand new for a lot of these players. But we drew the game. We showed a bit of character there. The Manchester United game, which I'm sure pleased Burnley fans, absolutely, ruled the game, beaten quite rightly 2-0. And then another good performance at Bournemouth at the weekend. And it's basically that. It's high intensity. Yeah. It's 4-3-3, but it can look like a 4-2-3-1 depending on transitions and patterns of play. You'll notice the formation is fairly fluid a lot of the time, players moving in and out. It can look like we're playing with 2 CDMs and then they kind of become 2 6s or 2 8s. The fullbacks will be inverted, which is kind of the trendy thing nowadays. You'll see Porro and Udogie coming in field. So it's all very, very fluid. It's all about movement and space. So it should be a really good game at Turf Moor at the weekend because I just hope we don't get 2 sides that cancel each other out.
That's what I do think that's what might happen. But I also am accepting that we're still in our transition period. We've got a lot of new players coming in. And Kompany has a very set way of doing things. And I don't know if you've seen much of the documentary that came out about the club, and he speaks about he needs X amount of hours on the training pitch and in game before it starts to click, and he puts the graph up. And then obviously we knew what happened last season because we watched the documentary after it all done, and it literally was bang on the money on this graph. And he said this in like September, and it was October 31st. He says, we will be playing sexy, attractive football, and then literally from that moment on, we went 10 wins on the bounce straight away, like it was a record in the Championship. It was, so we're still in that period of we don't know what. We do know what we're doing, but we don't know what we're doing to an extent. We're still learning the game. But what you've explained is pretty much identical to how we play. So it's going to be a battle of who's got their message across the quickest, I think, on Saturday. And looking at it, I think Ange just possibly got the edge on that because he's got the more experience as a manager. He's got the years, he's done the miles. They're both disciples of Pep, aren't they, really? They both play the Pep way. So, although there's obviously massive difference between the 2 clubs, I think the 2 teams that will set up are going to be quite similar. It just might be a case of you'll just have the better players on the day. I think that's what will come about. On to players quickly then. Tell us about your transfer window then. Who have you brought in? Who's gone? Who's left? Who's come in? I want to obviously have a deep dive into Maddison because I think that's one of the best signings of the season so far. I think if you get rid of the what was the chap who went to Leicester? Name's just been in my head.
Harry Winks.
Harry Winks. Yeah, you sold him for 10, so you've brought Maddison in for 30 million quid basically, and it's an absolute superb bit of business. So yeah, talk to us about the transfer when you've had so far, and do you expect to see any more come in maybe?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to probably bore you and your viewers and listeners now, but we had, and I think this is right, at the beginning of the window, or certainly 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had 38 players on the books. Now, as people probably know, you can only register 25 for the Premier League. We're not in Europe this season, so we don't need as big a squad, and Ange wants that 25 push 26, but you can't register 26. So, you know, there's different rules and regulations, as you all know, about under 21. Some can be on an under 21 list and da-di-da-di-da. So we had 38 players. We've managed to get several out the door, notably, who we've touched on before, Harry Kane, Harry Winks, Jed Spencer's gone to Leeds on loan. Joe Rodon's gone on loan to Leeds. Dane Scarlett just today's gone to Ipswich on loan. It looks like Reguilon's going on loan to Manchester United. Alfie Devine has gone to Port Vale on loan.
Right.
I've probably missed a couple, but we've had so many ins and outs. And we're still obviously after a couple of players. We're in for a couple of, perhaps a centre back and a couple of others. Conor Gallagher's names are mentioned, and incomings. We've made deals permanent, which people will say they're signings. They were kind of at the club already, which is Pedro Porro and Dejan Kulusevski. I'll come back to Maddison because he's well worth talking about a bit more. We brought in the goalkeeper Vicario, young goalkeeper, very good shot stopper. I'm still unconvinced with him at the ball at his feet, but he's got a lot better the last game or so. He's lightning reflex saves. He plays quite a high line. That's what Ange wants. He wants him to be that sweeper keeper. So he's a good addition. Destiny Udogi's come in after a loan season back at Udinese. He's been a revelation at left back. Who else have we signed? I've probably forgotten. Manus Solomon's come in as a winger because we lost Lucas Moura. His contract ended. Let's come back to Maddison. Actually, let's spend a bit of time on Maddison because he has been. I liked him when he was at Norwich, and I was a bit gutted we didn't go in for him when he moved to Leicester. And he just seems the perfect fit. He is he does. Tottenham player, you know, he's just fantastic to watch. Quick feet, quick thinking, loves to gamble with the ball, loves to gamble with a pass. Obviously, he scored his first goal. The creativity is frightening, and it would have been unbelievable partnership with Harry Kane had Harry stayed. It's such a shame, but hey, we move on. He's been made part of the sort of new leadership group that we had at Tottenham. We had Kane, Højbjerg, Dyer and Skip, I think, the last year, and that's totally been reversed. This now, see, Son captain, Maddison and Romero as vice captain. So it's all changed at Tottenham. So that's what I was coming back to what I was saying earlier. There's so much going on. But Maddison's kind of at the core of that, and he's such an important player for us. And with Bissouma in the middle, that sort of partnership, along with Pat Matassar, who I think will play Saturday, it's really looking up. And like I say, it's actually looking forward to watching the games again on the Saturday because I've had so many days where I just didn't want to, you know.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Like, say, we had, you know, and I don't ever sort of bag Dash because he gave us some incredible times as a Burnley fan. He's put us in the position we are now, which put us up for sale for the American. You know, he got us into this position, so we owe a lot to him. But it was pretty crap, that football sometimes. You know, like there's only so many 0-0s, 1-0s that you can put up with after a while, and you know it just grinds you down. And then Kompany coming in, and it's been chalk and cheese in terms of football. You know, we're not seen this type of football up north before. You know, he's shocked. You know, he's shocked a lot of people in the stands. So
it's incredible what he did. I mean, you know, he took over in the June. Yeah, and you had over 100 points, didn't you? You won the championship by over 100 points. You scored well over nearly 90 goals.
It was nearly, from our point of view, it was nearly a perfect season. Like, nearly, because, it's close to perfection as you could have got from us, really, which was, we beat Blackburn Rovers, which obviously our main rivals, twice. We won the league at their place, which is, you know, probably like winning the Premier League at Arsenal, you know what I mean?
Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah, you know, we'll not talk about what happened the other way around, but, you know, we nearly got the points record. You know, we were blowing teams away. It was nearly and for him to, he didn't come to Burnley with with much excitement in terms of a managerial career, to be honest with you. He went to Anderlecht and he didn't have a great time. I know he had some issues with money and situation and stuff, but it wasn't like we just thought, oh, it's just a new era for the club. We'll give him a go. We'll have a couple of years in the Championship, rebuild and go again. And what he did, he was just unbelievable. And that it falls quite nicely to one of my questions a bit further down. Is that we had the scare towards the back end of the season from you guys that you were going to steal Kompany off us. And to be honest with you, at first we all thought, well, that's it. He's going to take the jump. Like he's done his job with us. We're going to get promoted regardless what happens. Really, he's going to take the job with you. And what was sort of Spurs fans thinking? Was that something that would have excited you, or were you quite dismissive of that? It's all right to be. Did you want someone bigger, or would Kompany have done a good job? We don't know.
We probably will never know now. But I mean, it was funny. He was linked, and then he almost shut it down almost straight away. Anyway, so it's not like
5 year, signed a contract extension immediately,
which is was good for him. I mean, I think it's the right move for Kompany, to be honest, to stay at Burnley, and I think. If it was me, I'd have done exactly the same, because you've got this team promoted. You want to see how you can do with it, and take it forward and take the players forward. And obviously, you've had a lot of ins and outs, haven't you yourselves? Yeah. So you're probably trying to do this season is consolidate in the Premier League. And I think if he does that, and I think he will do that, but if he does that, he's probably already a legend up in Burnley. He's probably put a statue of him outside the ground, So I'm glad for him that he stayed there. Yeah. I was a bit ambivalent about it. I wasn't one of these Tottenham fans that was snobby about it. We should be getting one of the top managers. Yeah, he'd done well. He's obviously going to be. He is a good manager, and I think he's going to be a top manager one day. And I think you'll see him managing Man City one day.
Yeah, we've accepted that. It's sort of our sort of local group of friends that we have around here. We sort of accepted that when Pep Guardiola announces his leaving date, we accept that that's when Kompany's going to leave, pretty much. So it's more of a case of just enjoy him while we've got him, to be honest with you, and just enjoy it while we can, because he's destined for the top. He's destined for much greater things than Burnley, to be honest with you, because he's got the lot. If he had the players that he had at Man City, he'd be doing just as well, I think, as Pep is, to be honest with you. So. I'm glad we didn't lose him, to be honest. I thought it would have been a good move. Personally, I thought it would have just been the next step, I would have thought, in his career, but
it's probably not. It wouldn't have been a good, knowing our chairman and club.
Yeah, well,
it wouldn't have been good because he is a young new manager, essentially, and I think we would have ruined him to a certain degree. Not the fan base. The fan base would have got behind him. It's just I'm not confident that our chairman would have ever.
Yeah,
given him what
he
wanted.
With Kompany don't realise as well, he's got an amazing scouting book and scouting knowledge, and he has a group. He's revolutionised our entire scouting department. So we're ringing up 22-year-old hot prospects, and Kompany rings up and says, "Do you want to come play for me?" And then they jump to the chance, because these 22-year-olds have grown up watching Kompany, and they're like, "Oh my god, Vincent Kompany's rang me. Yeah, I'll come play for you." They're not bothered about Burnley, they're not bothered about where coming and playing.
It's him.
It's him. So that's been a massive benefit. We've been able to sign some ridiculously good talents that potentially have good resale value, and he gets all that side of it as well. He's got an eye for. He's business savvy as well. He's quite an intelligent man, so it's working out in our favour that he's actually helping shape the club going forward. So I don't actually now we signed the contract extension. I don't actually feel worried we're going to lose him at any point, even if he takes us into Europe or something in 12 months' time. I still don't think we'll lose him, because I think he's just biding his time, following out the project, and then he'll probably just move to City at some point. That feels like what he's going to do anyway. So.
Yeah.
Right, back to Spurs then. So, given there's no European football and you've got booted out of a Carabao Cup, annoyingly, which I'd have thought that would have been a good chance as well. What is a good season looking like this year? I know you touched upon it briefly earlier, but what do you want to get out of this year? Not necessarily position included, but what do you want to get out of this season?
Just going back to the Cup briefly. All the Spurs fans I've talked to, and most of the ones we've either watch the pod or are on the channel,
we
thought the Carabao Cup was a really good opportunity to get some silverware.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that I thought, I think we all thought that Ange got wrong. He made 9 changes to the team that played against Fulham, and we just weren't at the races. It was like going back a year and watching under Conte. It was horrific performance on Tuesday, absolutely bloody awful. So I think he got it wrong, and so did a lot of other people. But you begin to question: did the manager pick the team, or was he told to put a week into? Which is strange because there's an international break after the Burnley game, so they only have one more game. So it can't be. I just think he was trying to see what these players, the fringe players, were like, and just give them a run. So look, we're out of it, and that's it. But what would be, a good season for Tottenham? As I said before, probably 6th upwards for me. We've got to hope that we could finish 5th because that may well get Champions League next season. We don't know yet, but
looking very likely, isn't it? Now with the regardless of how it's going to end, now we'll pretty much get it, won't we? So
we should do, It's like I heard somebody say it would be great to see Arsenal get to the final and get absolutely battered 10-0 in the final. That would kind of guarantee the position. But no, I think. Look, I'm realistic. I try to be a realistic Tottenham fan. I'm not going to come on here and say we're going to finish top 4 because I'm not entirely convinced we would. I think there's some good teams around. Arsenal are sadly going to be up there. Liverpool, your Cities, your United, Chelsea are never out far away from it. Villa are doing well. So it's difficult. But I think any progression, as long as we could finish 8th, but as long as we could see the progression and see what the manager's trying to do and the football he's trying to play. That's all Spurs fans ask for, is to see a plan. We had a plan under Pochettino. We've never seen a plan with Mourinho or Conte. So it felt like they were there doing little old Tottenham a favour, and we've now got a manager in who actually wants to be with us, probably a bit like Kompany and yourself. The manager wants to be there. He looks like he cares. And that's all we want. We want a manager to care about the club and care about the fans and care about the football he plays. And we've got that in Ange. And we all just hope he's backed, and given the tools he needs to do the job.
Yeah, I think he'll be a success at Tottenham because I already can see an identity of football straight away. Like I watched the Brentford game, and it was a 2-2 draw, but I could see what you were trying to do. It was much more aggressive. I even watched a little bit of that pre-season game. I flitted in and out between the game, and I think I was doing something else. But you were sort of like you were doing like triangles of passing in your own box. I think it was against Barcelona. I think that was the game actually. And I thought, that's not Spurs that I've seen over the past couple of years. Like, you were just knocking the ball back in your own half, in your own box.
Yeah.
It looked really comfortable for them. And, that you didn't win the game, but that's what you wanted to do. And I already see that you've got that identity. So, and again, like you mentioned with Ange, you've got a manager there that's done the hard miles. He's had quite a well-travelled managerial career. This feels like his crowning glory, doesn't it? This is what he's worked all his life for, is to be at a big club like this in London, in the Premier League. And I think he'll take it with both hands because he was a raging success at Celtic and they absolutely adored him up there. And that's not an easy fan base to win over, really. I know you pretty much guaranteed success up there, but you've got to get the fans to fall in love with you, more importantly, as well. So
you have,
and they loved him up there. So they have had nothing but good things to say about him. So I think you've got a really good man there. So we'll have a quick look at the match then. What we're sort of thinking about the game? Are we thinking, are we going to cancel each other out? Is it going to be like how can? I'll ask you first, then you can ask me probably the same question. How can Burnley break down Tottenham? What's your weaknesses then in this new system that you've got?
Well, I'll firstly say Turf Moor has not been the happiest hunting ground for Tottenham. I mean, I've got it written down here. We've played 8 in the Premier League. We've only won 3, drawn 2, and lost 3. So it is a cliche, but it is a tough place to go.
Yeah, it is.
We've struggled quite badly at your place on occasion. So, where's our weaknesses? When we play out from the back, it looks great when it works. That's what I'll say. But we will get caught out. We will get caught out on occasion this season. And I would say if we don't beat your press, then we're probably going to be in trouble, because playing it around with the keeper, like you've seen, I've seen City do it even, and when it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong. It happened. It hasn't happened yet, but it will do. So I would say if you do press us high up the field and we can't beat that, then we could be in trouble. So I would say that's one way of getting at us. And any balls over the top, we have got certainly one very, very quick. I think he's the quickest player. He was the quickest player in the Dutch league last year in Van der Ven. Yeah. He's rapid. So I don't know how fast your forward line is, but you'd go some to actually match him for pace. Yeah. But obviously if it's not on his side and somebody's coming in from the left-hand channel where Romero plays, Romero's not slow, but you won't get past Van der Ven, but you could probably burn past Romero if there's somebody with a lot of pace. So it's I would say those two areas, but definitely beating the press. That would be a way to go.
Yeah, it sounds again pretty similar to our sort of problems at the minute. Is that sort of beating the press thing? If we don't, we keep the ball really well. Like pretty much, we kept. Good chunk of the ball against Man City. We had more possession than Villa, the other week, but we just seemed to be a bit toothless in the final third. I think now I'm putting that down to just the new players are gelling, the new systems gelling, and all that and the other and whatnot. But we've got some pace in our team now, which is something I've not been able to say for the last 15 years as a Burnley fan. Like we've actually got some rapid. Our centre half recorded the second fastest time, like speed, against Man City and outran Kyle Walker. So like that.
Oh really?
Yeah, that shocked us. Yeah, and so we've got a lad on the wing called Koleosho who is just absolutely lightning fast. So that's our aim is to be quick on the transition, and annoyingly that's what caught us out against Villa. We wasn't quick enough on the transition, and Villa they just sat back and said, right, you get your transition sorted, we'll be ready and waiting for you when you do. And we never sort of snapped into gear and did it quick enough. So if we don't do that properly and quickly enough, then that's probably where you'll catch us out. We don't transition well, so we all power forward pretty slow, and then we don't register the transition. When you get the ball back, you can then get ahead of us pretty quickly, and you can exploit that pretty sharply. So, like you say, it feels quite similar to what
very similar,
experiencing, which makes me think it's either going to be like a 6-goal thriller or an absolute 0-0 dead rubber. Neither team knows what to do with each other. So
it could be. I mean, that your club record signing that Dooney, is
Dooney,
it? Yeah, I mean, what's he like? Is he somebody we're going to have to watch out for?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we've actually got a pretty exciting forward. If it would be the forward three that we've had for the past few games, it would be Amdouni, Koleosho, and Lyle Foster up top. Three very different players. Like, if I'm honest, like Koleosho, he's very quick, like direct line speed. He's only a young lad. He's struggling to find his end product. But Amdouni is very good. He's one of them sort of like one touch, silky touch players that he likes to throw his shoulder. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Messi at all, but he plays that sort of player that he's very nifty on his feet, and he uses his body to shift players rather than use the ball to shift players, and that's it. And then you've got Lyle Foster, who he's just an absolute brute at the minute. Not in an old school way. He's very good with his feet and stuff, but he could muscle out anybody at the minute. Like, he scored a goal on Sunday, and he shepherded out their Villa centre half. While he was spinning him all in one motion, he pulled him around him and pushed him away, and then chested it down and whacked it into the net. But he's starting to get a run of form, and Amdouni scored last night against Forest.
I saw that. Yeah, good goal.
And it was a very, very nice little goal. He's got that in the locker. So our problem was we just weren't getting it to them quick enough. That was the problem. We kept the ball really well. We were passing around teams' press, but we were not doing anything in the final third. It sort of just went a bit flat at the end product. So if we can nip that in the bud, then we'll be dangerous going forward. But I think it's just going to take a good few weeks before that happens, and we've got some pretty honking fixtures coming up. So right, we'll probably start wrapping it up now. So I'll ask you for a score prediction. I've just briefly mentioned it, but what are you thinking? What's your score prediction?
I think Spurs will just nick it 2-1.
Yeah.
I think it will be a very, very close game because it always is. But I just think we'll have a little bit too much for you. And that's only going on how I've seen us play in the first 3 games. I just think we'll just have that little bit extra. But it will definitely be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if you took the lead, to be honest with you. But I'm going to go for 2-1 Tottenham win.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm I'm quite the pessimist on this channel. I'm always on this quite the realist. So I've sort of been happy with the draw, to be honest. I've sort of expected in my head a 1-1, or I don't think we've got the nous anymore to sort of sit and hold off for a 0-0. Even though I've just slagged off Dash for sitting through 0-0s, I don't think we've got the ability to even try doing 0-0 anymore. So I think it will be we'll score, and then we'll concede, and we'll just have to try and get another one, and we'll probably end up conceding trying to get another one. So I think it'll be a 1-1, but yeah, I can see that happening, that you'll probably nick it, but it will be a tight old game.
It'd be unusual for you to lose 3 home games in a row, which essentially would be, because,
we've just had a really rubbish start of fixtures. We've played the best team on the planet. We've then played arguably one of the better teams in the country at the minute, in Aston Villa. A lot of people are sleeping on how good they actually are. And now we've got you guys. And then next we've got, I think we've got Man United after the international break. We've then got Newcastle. We've then got Chelsea. Our only saving grace is Salford in the cup at some point, and our first winnable game isn't going to come until October by the looks of things. So that's another set of anxieties for Burnley fans to worry about. But
you just take it. You've got to play. I always think it looks, one of our months last year looked horrendous, but you've got to play these teams and get them out of the way, and then you will hit a run of fixtures where you look at that at the run, you'll think, there's some winnable, there's some points there for us to get, and as long as you hit that, people say 40 points. It's probably less now. It's probably nearer 32. And you'll probably be all right. So. You'll be fine. If you play the football I watched you play last season, if you can actually get to play that against some of the teams perhaps that you can get at, rather than the Cities and Uniteds of this world, which are going to be very, very difficult to play against, I think you'll be fine this season.
Yeah. That's good. I said the recurring theme throughout these pre-game shows is the opposition fans are sort of saying the same thing. I think it might get a bit different when we do interviews with the Everton fans, Sheffield United fans and whatnot, but most of the time everyone sort of said, I think they're putting Burnley in a positive light for a change, where usually it's straight to the basement bin and off with you. So it's nice we're actually we're being looked at in a positive light for a change, as opposed to just Brexit and get out of the league as quick as possible. So I appreciate the time. We'll wrap things up there. So if you let everyone know where they can find you and listen to your stuff, I'm sure you've got plenty of Burnley content coming up on your channel over the next couple of days. So
it's Chris's channel. It's the Spurs Chat Podcast. You can find Chris, Tottenham fan Chris Cowlin on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at DM9 if you want to. It's mainly Tottenham stuff or just talking rubbish. And obviously you can follow Chris at Chris Cowlin. I think his handle is on I keep calling it Twitter. It's called X now or something, isn't it? And we do Chris's channel is the Spurs Chat Podcast, which is available on we do live streams a bit like this one, and it's available on all media streaming podcast platforms or wherever you get your podcasts as well. And it's really good fun. Chris has got loads of subscribers, really well run channel, always good fun to go on, even when we lose Harry Kane. I was on the Harry Kane show when the night he went. It was the most depressing, hardest show I've ever done in my life. And I predicted we'd finish 10th in the Premier League. I've revised that now, and I think we'll finish 5th or 6th. But it's tough.
The magic of football, in it. One day you're in the trenches, and the next minute you're thinking you can take on anyone. So that's the beauty of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. We'll have you on again, and hopefully you enjoy the game as much as we'll enjoy the game, regardless of the outcome. Yeah, good luck to Burnley for the season. Apart from Saturday, I can't say that for Saturday, obviously. But I know, same to you guys. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. So thanks for coming on. Remember, like and subscribe to the channel. Get us on Twitter and X and all them socials. You know where we all are now. So keep interacting. It's going really well. we're doing really good things this season, and we've got plenty of things lined up going forward and upcoming anyway. So we've got some big plans and exciting plans. So yeah, cheers for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Cheers.